And well, my husband got
contract and we had their timeline.
All right, so I'll call the meeting to order. Welcome, folks. This is the regular meeting of the Rutland Town Select Board for November 21st, 2023. We have a full complement tonight. Kurt Hathaway, Joe DiNardo, Mary Ashcroft, Matt Getty, and Sharon Russell are all here. So please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we've got in our packet the select board minutes for November 7th. Assuming you folks had a chance to look them over.
Move to approve.
Motion's been made to
second.
and seconded to approve the minutes. Any additions, deletions, corrections? If not, all those in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, I'm going to circulate a signature. Are there any board member announcements? Nope. It was easy. End of meeting. Okay, there we go.
See you.
Update from Select Board Chair. I'll be very brief. I did attend the Rutland Ad Hoc Housing Working Group meeting. This is the group that Lyle Jepson mentioned when we were here when he was in here last meeting. They are working on a legislative ask. Basically, the mayor has set a goal of 1,000 housing units by, and I can't remember the year. I think it's within the next 5 years. Soon, yeah. It was a very good discussion. I will keep you updated. Basically, it was discussion centered around easing some of the regulations and easing some of the conditions on funding, and of course, more funding for affordable and other types of housing. Okay, covers that. With the Planning Commission, I attended a site visit of where the solar array is proposed for Route 7 North, and this is above or north of the Max Steel property. Very interesting meeting. I don't know who's farming that, but boy, that's a chopped up,
Right.
very, very hilly.
Brad Thomas.
Okay,
Thomas.
yeah.
Yeah.
Tough piece of property to farm, I would think.
It is not the prime ag land that it was referred to as.
Well-
We farmed it for quite a while before Brad had it. And
All right.
Good dirt.
leaves a lot to be desired.
Don't forget, on Monday after Thanksgiving, we will be meeting at Dyer Road at 9 o'clock in the morning to do the site visit required before we inelegantly throw up the town road. So be there. It will be a good time. And last thing. Oh, okay. I think that's it. All right, so if it's okay with folks, I would like to take out of order under action item number, letter A. We have Valerie Taylor, Chair of the Mendon Select Board, with us this evening. And would you like to come and speak to us about your proposal? Yeah, if you could sit there, then people on the screen can see you too. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
As Mary said, my name is Valerie Taylor from the Mendon Select Board. I have Larry Purcell, former member of our select board, and also a member of the steering committee affiliated with the Route 4 scoping study. I believe you all have the letter that we sent to VTrans in front of you. Well, that's the same. It's the same letter. We
Okay.
sent you one, so you have a copy of our speed reduction request and some focus points attached to that. Just briefly walking through our letter. I believe the biggest takeaway is that in order for Mendon to accomplish any of our goals in the second paragraph, speed reduction is a high priority. We started with the Vermont Council of Rural Development community visit that led to Mendon on the Move, where 200+ residents came together and spoke about their the highest priorities that we had, which led to outdoor recreation and envisioning the village of Mendon, like enhancing our village district.
Where is your village district?
It's starts at the Mendon
Minden Mountain
Orchard.
Orchards.
Okay,
and extends to Meadow Lake Drive,
okay.
Sugar and Spice. So we're trying to revolve safety has come forefront to include or to enhance the pedestrian bicycle lane crossings, access in and out of this village district. We have, and this is where you may want to come in, the history of accident prone intersections in Mendon are Sugar and Spice and Meadow Lake. We have Park Lane, even in front of the orchard heading down in that area. The speed limit is 45 and we're trying to reduce it to 40 in that area. So that would start at the Town Line Road. It just becomes a little bit of a race there near Casellas where the orchard is. So what we found with VHB engineering, our latest, the scoping study is still ongoing. VHB is the latest addition to our public safety enhancement hopes. Because Mendon has 7 miles of the Route 4 corridor, most of it consists of climbing lanes. And what VHB did find that it's visually inviting for a driver to speed. And we're hoping to work with yourselves, Killington, because we abut Killington, our speed on the upper segments of Route 4, we're hoping to come down to 45 from 50. And we also understand that with a reduction of speed, usually the configuration of the road has to change. This is our starting point. The letter doesn't show any emotions of what we hear from the residents. With the this past summer, we had 4 horrible accidents that included fatalities, and people are speaking out. they're scared. We're scared. We have Meadow Lake, Journey's End, heading up the mountain. You've got Cream Hill, Turnpike, the whole corridor. I believe everybody is white knuckling their steering wheels. We're scared. We're scared to slow down. As a mother, I have two girls driving. I like my neighbors a lot. I love them. We all are just so concerned for our safety. When we are pulling into these roads, we're sitting in the fast lane. You learn to pump your brakes so that someone, because you're on the uphill incline, if you take your foot off the brake, you're sitting there and they don't even know you're turning. I mean, they see your blinker. Pump your brakes. This is what we talk about, how it's safer. It's just scary. It's now scary. There's a history of accidents. The facts are in front of you. I don't want this to just be a piece of paper. I want to work together. I know it'll be a process, but I'm proud to be an advocate for our town. I care about Mendon. I care about Rutland, Killington. We all use the road and we're a community. We don't have to look at it as separate towns. I believe in my heart that we just need to come together and figure out a way to make it safer. And if it's not the speed, which I believe it is, then something else needs to change. And we need your help. You're asking for help.
You've referenced the scoping study, but it looks like it's not completed yet. Okay.
Yeah,
do you
I
have
can
anything to
address
say?
that.
Yeah.
Again, Larry Purcell. I spent 9 years on the select board and I'm a tropical storm Irene survivor. So we started this scoping study when I was on the select board, and it was an alternative grant, basically studying safety for pedestrian and bicycle safety, and addressing the speed issue in Mendon regarding pedestrian and bicycle safety. A lot of our residents, when they got involved in our public hearings, were just looking at Route 4 scoping study and did not focus on pedestrian and bicycle. And that's where Val is coming in now. And they came to the meeting, 2 public meetings, basically describing what Val just did, going up Route 4 or coming down. If you have to turn or come out of one of those side roads, as Val said, you're looking in your mirror, pumping your brakes, got your directionals on and praying. I don't live in that section, but when I was on the select board, we did a reappraisal and serving on the BCA. The numerous times I had to go up and look at property, I witnessed that same thing. It was new for me. So going up through, we find there's 3 sets of drivers. The first set, if it's 50 miles an hour, that's as fast as they're going. Second set, 50 miles per hour is a guideline. They know 5 or 7 miles over, they're safe without getting ticketed. And the third group doesn't really care what the speed limit is at all. So when we started the scoping study, we invited Secretary of Vermont Agency of Transportation, Joe Flynn, and he came down and met with us. We talked about the village, and he recommended that as chair of the select board, I write a letter to him, which I did, and I emailed it to him, and that's on file with VTrans. Then we talked about, we were in front of the new Green Mountain Finger Lakes facility, about the speed limit there. And as we were standing there, he was watching the traffic go by, shaking his head, kind of guessing at what the speed was. He informed us that, Route 4 has a US designation, which means it is intended and designed to move traffic. And he said, when we get involved in lowering the speed limit, it's a tall order, but it can be done. And then we discussed it's not always the speed limit, it's the speed that people are driving. And we know that from data in the crashes. My letter I wrote is dated last December 2022, and there's, as Val just mentioned, more serious accidents that have happened since then. When you come around Sugar and Spice and start up Route 4, you all of a sudden you have a passing lane and a huge shoulder. In our research in serving on the Transportation Council, Advisory Council, Regional Planning, that was the design. The wider the road, the faster people will travel. They have that safety element. They got a big shoulder and a passing lane. So the scoping study has come out with, you're not going to dig up any asphalt, but you restripe the road so that people have that narrow effect. And what happens is they slow down. So that's what, starting at Mendon Mountain Orchards, with restriping, if V-Trans will go along with that, that slows down traffic. And then going up Route 4, taking out that passing lane and that huge pavement to restripe that with the double stripes and the bars, that turns that into a single lane. And it's traffic calming, and we're trying to slow traffic down. I know Pittsford was just successful in getting another section changed to 25 miles an hour by Kamuta's store going north. And V-Trans came back, I think, on more than one occasion and asked them, how are you going to enforce it? And that's one of the big issues when you do a speed reduction or ask for it. They're going to come back and ask. This section where the 50-mile-an-hour speed limit is enforced by Vermont State Police right now. So they would have to answer that question. Most of our patrols are in the village district. So, and I think the revenue now on Route 4, if our sheriff patrol that, the revenue goes to the state, not to the town. So now we just patrol in the town.
So let me ask select board members, questions, comments.
So just to clarify your ask, you're asking the town to lower its speed limit for that whole segment where it's currently 45 to lower it to 40. Is that correct?
Through our village district.
Well, I mean, so it goes as you're coming up Route 4 from Home Depot,
Correct.
changes to 45 somewhere between there and Post Road. Are you asking us to lower it from there up to the town line?
You could consider it. That was part of the, that was something that VHB noticed. They believe that's where the accelerating starts at Home Depot. So Route 7, we need some climbing lanes once you head around the corner when the speed changes to 50 from 45. I mean, we have countless 18-wheelers heading up the mountain, and we need those passing lanes. We don't know if we can change the road and limit the amount of passing lanes. But yes, to answer your question, we didn't know if you would consider that. I've noticed that you start at 35 near Home Depot and there's no 40 in between, I think. I haven't noticed that. I believe it jumps to 45. And it does slow. I mean, right after Casella's, we need that climbing lane right there because you have the Casella trucks pulling
Oh,
out.
and there's currently a bottleneck at Best Western because all of a sudden that turns into a turning lane. So people that are zooming through the passing lane, all of a sudden, either they blow through it in the turning lane or they got to get over.
We also have a lot of comments by people saying, why don't you just use police force to keep the numbers of people speeding down, and it just hasn't worked. We've tried that for decades. We have
Well, I know of 2 times when we have joined with other municipalities. We joined with Rutland City and requested Route 7 starting south in Rutland Town, going through the city and hitting Rutland Town North, we requested a 5 mile an hour reduction. And we joined with them to do it. That was felt really good, you know?
And
We got denied.
Feel that. I want to go to bed.
We got denied, just so you know. And then we did do a scoping study a few years ago with West Rutland and the corridor that we have with them to do much of the same thing you were talking about, the making it more bicycle friendly and more calming the traffic. We didn't necessarily pick up on the recommendations that were made, but so we have cooperated with other municipalities, and I guess it's to this group. We can do it one of two ways. We can toss the issue to the highway committee, or we can do intermunicipal and take a look at the, you're stuck either way, Joe.
Well, you know the outcome of us going with the city to V-Trans and trying to
Yes.
get Route 7. And
Yes.
they said that there's no problem, is what they said. They came and so our second constable who runs Radar a lot said they must have been there like at night. Because the average speed limit on Route 7 going south into the city is about 50. And coming out of the city, it's probably 45 to 50, but they said there was no problem. So I wouldn't, we can team up with you guys to try to do this. I don't know if we have a real problem between Home Depot and Town Line Road. There's not a lot of accidents there. We don't go there too often, do we? Ed?
Yeah.
Not too.
There's a few
Most of them are down by Home Depot and in that area, right? Yeah. So, I mean, we could go ahead and do this, but I can pretty much tell you V-Trans is just gonna say no.
Consideration.
But you can do everything you can to try, because we all know that the speed limit is posted at 45. Everybody's driving 55.
Right.
Or better, because they assume that 10 miles is given and they can just do that. I don't hold a lot of assurance that we could get anywhere, but I don't have a problem with trying. If it takes a couple of communities to get together and do that, I mean, you guys have a lot of factual evidence of accidents and what's going on there. So there's some data there that supports, and if most of those are speed related, some might be weather related, but either or, speed usually ends up being the culprit. But I just don't hold out any real high hopes that the state will listen to anything. They're going to come, do more police. Well, the Rutland Town and Mendon and Rutland City and every community in the state of Vermont would have to have 24/7 traffic control. People would have to be out there 24/7, because as soon as the car's gone, everybody just resumes to their,
Right.
they assume speed limits are a suggestion and not the law of the road. So it's very difficult.
And I know our goals with Mendon on the Move and VHB working with us now revolve around the village district, because we want Mendon to be noticed.
Mhm.
And not just to drive through town. We have the golf course, we have the orchard. We're trying to bring more businesses. We're just trying to put us on the map a little bit more than just a highway. But I think this summer was just a rude awakening. And I know, there have been many groups that have tried to slow Route 4 down. But it's hard. Like, it's hard driving through there and knowing you're driving over these places where lives, it's kind of an eerie feeling. There's too many of them. And I really am determined to just make this corridor safer. It just has to be safer. Something has to change.
Any other select board questions or comments? Then I'm going to make a suggestion, and then you can agree with me or not. No more. My suggestion is, when the scoping study is finished, if you could send it on to us, and then we'll have the data that you're speaking to. And then we'll figure it out, but I'm guessing intermunicipal perhaps to take a look. Probably formulating a position with the full select board first and then going into a intermunicipal discussion with you and see if this is something we would want to go in on. Yeah,
Well-
appreciate you bringing this up. Everybody's got stories of that corridor. And Journey's End is where I slow down because I nearly hit a deer there once. So, that in addition to everything else, there's wildlife that crosses there.
Our scoping study is scheduled to be delivered to us next month.
Okay. Good. So we'll look forward to receiving it and we'll be back in touch. Feel free to nudge us once you send us the scoping study.
Well, thank you.
Okay, thanks very much.
so
Thank you
much. It
for
was nice
taking us
meeting all of
first.
you.
I had the regional planning, so Fred Nicholson
Oh,
doesn't give me a hard time
absolutely,
about
yeah.
what time I got here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Happy
Good evening.
Thanksgiving.
Yes,
Safe
you
and
too.
safe week. Thank you.
Okay, this is the time for questions or comments or public comments from the floor. Mr. Ron? Since you are not otherwise on the agenda, would you like to come and,
Love to.
okay.
I'm back, but this time we're excited.
Okay,
We're very close with the process. Well, by the way, Carl Ron. And I'm the chairman of the road committee. And,
for which
oh, I'm sorry,
development?
Windmere.
Okay,
Yes, Windmere, top of Killington Avenue. And we are so close. We're down to 2 items. And I need a thought on one. The second one is we're locating the title search right now. Title certificate, I should say, and a lawyer is doing that for us. I guess that's one of the stipulations. And then the second one is, I guess for 1 year, if I got this correct, Windmere would be responsible for the road if you choose to accept it as far as a transfer. I guess that's one item.
well, there's been a bit of a gap here.
Okay,
Last time I was up there, I think we were looking at the stormwater retention pond as part of our network. And before that, I think we were up with former road commissioner Byron Hathaway talking about what it would take to have the town agree to take over the road. I've heard since that there might have been discussion about not taking over the road, but allowing you to come in if you pay the cost of paving, we would assist you with paving. So I don't know where we are at this point. This is like a 5-year history.
okay.
And unless you've been to talk with our highway committee, that's probably where the next discussion should happen, because these folks need to, come up to speed a little bit with what your thinking is. So I know you've got 2 asks there, but I'm not really familiar, and I don't know as the highway committee is either with them. So,
Okay. Oh, I guess, right, there's one part of that requirement is that we work with each other on this and you've agreed to have the road transferred over, we would still be responsible, I guess, for major damage to our road for 1 year, I think, if I read it correctly.
I have to look at that ordinance
I think it's
again.
for 1
I
year.
can't remember the
yeah,
wording in
and,
that.
and
You
it's.
needed proof of money that we could afford to.
Well, we also needed to know what was under the road. That was a big concern, and we needed as-built plans. And we needed to know the easement situation because to see whether there were maintenance easements on either side, drainage easements, where they ran, and what utilities, where they were actually located. So that and how the road was built and whether it was built to town specs at the time. So that's kind of where things fell before. And I know that your folks at the time were unsure that they could locate that information. So
Yes, and we have secured that.
all of it,
I do.
good,
I've been a
Good.
busy boy,
very good.
a lot of homework. But it's been about 2 years. But that's what I mean. I think we're down to just a few documents that
Okay,
even the Act 250 we have,
Okay.
which is about 40 pages. Have you ever seen one of those?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Word. Do you want all 40 or would you, is
Well,
there something? we-
Usually there's a section that addresses transportation and municipal services, so, but I will let you.
Pick
So I keep looking over here. This is our highway committee of the select board, Kurt Hathaway and Joe DiNardo. So the next step I would suggest would be to bring in everything that you have,
Okay.
all of those things that I said we were seeking in the past.
Mhm.
And then maybe have these folks pull out what is required to take over a town road, go through what you have and see if there are gaps and investigate the question. Is that agreeable to the highway committee?
Yep.
So
Okay,
would that be as something as simple as me coming by and just dropping off the reams of drawings and schematics and everything, or?
Yeah, we'd have a meeting. I
Yeah.
don't know when our next meeting's due, but yeah.
Okay, so I could just bring that here.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, or you could come into the meeting even. if you want.
okay. Yeah, whatever works for you.
There's enough stuff, so we're gonna need to see it. and look
Yes,
at it, And then
yes.
just digest it. Dave will be a big part of that,
Yeah,
and then
there's-
just gonna generate questions.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my question to you back again to that piece, I think you'll eventually ask for, again, we'd have to be responsible for 1 year, is we're trying to come up with a monetary amount. Our accountant thought,
Mary, do you know anything, like when we took
I
over other
don't.
roads? I don't remember that being, unless that's something new, but when we took over Grover Drive, I don't remember them being
Yeah,
responsible for a
I
year.
don't, and you know,
So
the,
we need to see
Yeah.
what
okay,
we've done in the past, but I don't recall that as being, once the town takes over the road, I'm assuming it's ours.
Yeah, normally.
I don't think there's any,
Yeah, I
but
don't
we'd
either.
have to make sure that,
well, that's good.
well,
that's a,
Yeah. I'd have to
don't
read-
assume anything.
No.
These,
Right.
We're gonna have
these
to
guys
read
will tell
that
you,
again.
go through the regs and tell you
Yeah.
what you're
Yeah.
gonna need to do.
This,
So,
go ahead.
can you guys hear
For
me?
that,
Yes, hi, Dave, go ahead.
is.
Yeah, since
hello.
you're the highway commissioner, perhaps we ought to let you weigh in on this. Yeah.
I would
Okay.
appreciate that. Thank you. So Carl, this is a left-hand turn here from what we've been talking about. It was just us participating in the paving portion of it. Now you actually want us to take over the road? That's new.
well.
You want this
actually,
to
I brought
become, you want this to become a town road, so we change the name and the addresses and the whole thing, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, and
Wow,
I think I
okay,
started
that's
this
new.
process actually this past year. And we did a.
Yeah, originally it was just, we were supposed to pave it under our contract and you guys pay for it. It wasn't anything about taking the road over, but
Yes, but that's the direction we're heading in now.
okay.
And in fact, we just had 2 weeks ago, we had a meeting with our board of directors and also the road committee as well as the executive committee. And it was unanimous. Everybody is for this to continue the process.
You are aware that the services that you receive now from a private contractor, you guys will be assuming all that on your own. Because if I understand it right, the private contractor plows the road. They
Right.
do all the driveways, sidewalks, and do everything. Is that right? Is that correct?
That is correct.
First wintertime maintenance, because if the town takes it over, they're gonna plow the road. And you, all the rest of that, you're on your own.
No, we understand that. In fact, that's part of it. Because we have some folks, I'm trying to save them some money and, they're charged a hefty amount to just plow the road itself and salt it.
Yeah.
So
So,
that's why they're excited to.
okay,
do that. But we
because it
do
was,
understand.
you know, I've been here now going on about 8 years, and this has been off and on topic for that whole period of time. In the beginning, it sounded like the residents didn't want to give that up. And then there was some concerns about how things would be done differently once the town took over and what would be. And then there was a time period there that Dave is referring to where we had kind of got the impression was that, well, maybe we'll just work with the town to get the road paved and we'll just keep it the way it is. But now it sounds like we're back to where we started about 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, was the road's done. want the town to take it over. And if that's the direction we're going, then we'll have to pursue that, and that'll require a little more investigation. But you said you've got a lot of the documents, which is what the town has, what the highway committee will need is that there's got to be a list of what we asked for. And I don't believe we've hung on to that, but it's out there.
It's
And
out
then we'll
there.
make sure everything is done. And
That's
that's,
in the ordinance.
Very detailed.
Yeah.
so once we have all of that, then we can compare what we need to what you have, and then if there's any shortcomings. So that'll work out. I think the way to go from here would be you get copies of what you have to Bill. And then Bill will make them available. I don't know if we need multiple copies, but we'll at least need,
Sound like we're gonna want multiple copies.
have one, but
No,
then-
You're not going to.
but like I said, if we get a copy of everything that we've asked for that you have,
Yes.
we'll check that against our list. Dave can go through it, and Kurt and I, and then we can come up with, okay, this is where we need to be, and if there's anything missing, and then we need to, like I said, make sure that your folks are on board and know what the changes are and how things, it will require address changes, right, Bill? Okay, so we are already currently in 2 areas of town doing address changes. That seems to be like it's the end of the world. So just prepare folks that it's not the end of the world, but it will be a little bit of a burden.
Okay.
But those things are out there because you guys have whatever you have now, and it'll be different.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay,
Bill's been great.
Yeah.
He's filled me in on the process and working with me this past year. So I think we have a lot of the documents that you folks
Okay.
need moving forward, but
Alright.
I will do that. I'll drop them off.
Great.
Thank you so much for
Alright.
your time. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you guys too.
Thanksgiving.
Enjoy.
okay. Any other public comments or questions from the floor? If not, we'll go right to the agenda. Ed Dumas, Town Police Chief.
Did I give you folks these today? Probably not.
Not yet.
Here. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So last 2-week period, I had 75 calls, 7 traffic stops. So that's some retail thefts. Most of them are taking place in the southern end of the town. Little different format. Deputy Chief Washburn couldn't get the other format to work on the computer today, so. Any questions on this?
Select board questions? Doesn't appear so.
We got a quote for the radio. I think we told you like either 52 or 5,700. I think it came back at 5,700. We haven't picked it up yet. We're still waiting for CDC to get in touch with us on that.
Now that's for the new vehicle
newest
that we
cruiser.
just
Correct.
signed on here. Okay,
I think that's all I have. really.
okay. We will be talking about the Cortina
I'll stick around.
agreement. Okay, that would be helpful. Thank you. Questions of our police chief, and we did have a police committee meeting, so I think the minutes are here. It was a budget meeting. There's nothing. Let me, do you want to summarize what we went over?
I don't know. Do I?
Let's see. While I look for that, I'll ask you a question. Did that Tahoe that I saw driving through town with no plate on it, was that you?
That would be me. There is a plate on it.
There is
It's on the tinted black back window that you can.
Oh, no.
Like the rest of the traffic.
Well, at
Yeah,
least
but
it's
yours
not.
might be an actual authentic one.
Yeah.
I think the other one's
Yeah.
are.
Hey, you didn't bust out crayon for that one?
No. We actually printed off a real one.
Okay,
All right.
It's my understanding Carrie paid for it, so next week I'll go up there and try to get a red plate for it. So,
All right, so we had a committee meeting. We spent a fair bit of our time talking about accounting for the Cortina funds, which I don't know if that's something we want to bring up now or
Probably
have
South
another
End
meeting.
funds.
What's that?
South End funds.
South End funds.
Mhm.
So our auditor was reviewing that with Carrie. Hopefully we'll have that figured out for budgetary purposes soon. And we went through the draft budget. There were still a lot of blanks to be filled in, so we will need to meet again to go over those. We briefly discussed some additional asks from the department in that regard for potential future planning as far as personnel and salary structure, as well as succession planning. And let's see, as well as medical insurance issue, you will see referenced in the minutes. No decisions on those items have been made. And that's about it.
Okay, just for, I should have mentioned this at the beginning. With the agreement of the board, we should probably have one evening, not a regularly scheduled select board meeting where we only do the budgets.
Yeah.
How about that? Brand new idea, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
And we
So let's plan on that. And in that case, I'm sure that some of the suggestions in here, like a step increase for pay, like the medical coverage issue that Matt touched on, will be something, future planning purposes that we do need to take a look at. So,
You're looking at, if you want to stick to a Tuesday, you got one. The 12th of December.
yeah,
We'd have two meetings in a row, one for the regular meeting and then the budget meeting. Unless you want to find another one in there.
I don't know. Well, no, I think the 12th will, I think that gives all of the departments enough time. Then most of the committees have already met and done this, so we've got the
Highway's
numbers
ready.
in. Yep.
The 11th would work good for me.
Well,
The 11th is a Monday.
Yep.
Okay.
better.
That allows me to
But I
at
didn't
least
hear
get down
that.
to the fire station and
Oh, okay.
fix some of the broke stuff that they accrued over the course of a month.
They meet on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Give them to change
What do you
that.
think? Are you,
I don't know where I'm gonna be at.
yeah, okay.
Tentatively good date?
I have surgery the first.
No.
December 11th doesn't have anything on it yet for me, so
Wow.
He's holding up proof that there's nothing in his
there's a lot of
calendar.
dots on here. That one is one of the days that doesn't have one.
Let's look at that.
All right. So
There be then.
Monday, December 11th, we will do our budget meetings and we'll just take them in some kind of order. Let's see, we'll probably have Bill check in with various department heads to make sure we have a good time. And I think it's usually maybe half an hour per department,
Yeah.
if
I'm
that,
ready.
yeah. 5:30? Anybody? 5:30?
It's dark at 4
Yeah, it
o'clock.
gets
Much
dark.
to do, much to
Gets
do.
dark
You're
early
not
now.
haying anymore,
Yeah,
are
it gets
you?
dark early
Give
now.
up, but let's tools away. Throw up the white flag.
Do you want to do it any earlier? I know Matt's got a work day.
I try.
9 to 5ers.
5:30 is not bad. We probably get out of
5:30?
here by 9.
Yeah.
Because we have to do the general.
We have to
right?
do the general too. Yeah. Okay, so let's set that. And then all of you folks who have budget related issues, that's the date to target. And most of the departments have already got their requests in anyway. So, okay.
Do you want to get together one more police committee meeting before, because we didn't get very far on our budget?
We did go,
We had a lot of question marks.
yeah, because we were, and then we were wondering about some of the increases like VEMR's and whatever, and then Carrie sent around, I think, an email that
Yep.
explained to department heads how much to budget in each
Okay.
category, so that probably would be a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Between now and December 11th. What do you think?
Sounds good.
All right, we'll try. Okay, thank you, Chief. Oh, any other questions for the chief? All right, thanks. John Paul Fignan, Town Health Officer, Public Safety Building Clerk, and Second Constable.
Hi, good evening.
Hi,
By now, I think you should have gotten Ed Clark's analysis of the items that are being considered for change orders. This week, they anticipate finishing up the concrete work, and we're on schedule to have the steel delivered in early December. So the project is moving forward pursuant to the new schedule. That's all I have on that. I assume you folks are going to discuss how you want to approach those issues later.
well, it's up to the board. I mean, if,
Well, I think that we need,
so one,
there are some questions, but I think
there's a couple of things. One is we do have some information from our town attorney. I don't know if you want to go into executive session to discuss that, or whether it's just keep it in your mind and we can go on to the change order requests. Or do you want, well, we have John Paul, do you want to take it up now? What's your pleasure?
well, I don't know if discussing the change orders in the contract, if we're supposed to do that in executive session or not. I don't know.
I don't know either, but
Because my concern is I want to make sure that the change orders are in accordance with what we've agreed to. And there are some costs in there that I'm not sure that we should be liable for. That's, I guess, and the other thing was, it says that they were approved. And I don't remember, and again, I need Kevin's analysis, is if we have given Ed Clark the authority to approve change orders and approve payments, because stuff is, I thought we had that option at the end, but it seems that might be different. So I need to have that clarified, just to
Well-
make sure that we're doing everything in accordance with the contract.
all right.
Because that's a pretty hefty sum of money on that orders for this week that says they're approved, but if Ed's doing that, or do we get to do that? So I need that clarified.
And Kevin was not going to be calling in tonight. So do you want to do an executive session a little bit later to
Well, we're not,
touch on his advice to us?
I think that we need to forward these change orders and what they constitute to Kevin.
He's had them.
He has.
He's
the
had
change
them.
order?
He's looked them all over.
Never
He's been in
response to your
touch with Ed.
Okay.
He's been, so yeah,
So the email that we got sometime today would address that,
yes.
because I hadn't had a chance to read it and I
Okay.
don't know what he said.
Oh,
So
okay,
I haven't gotten there yet.
we need to know what that is, make sure that everything's on the
okay.
up and up, because I have some concerns about that. So I guess maybe we should discuss that in executive session, since it
Okay,
is pertaining to
so-
the contract.
We'll hold on that until a little bit later.
Oh, John Paul, check back in for that.
Yeah, JP, are you willing to join us in executive session toward the end of the meeting?
Sure, maybe you could just shoot me a text, let me know you're getting close. I can come back on.
Bill can do that. Thank you.
All right, great,
Okay.
thanks. Talk to you then.
Any other questions of our town health officer, building clerk, or second constable?
Oh, good. Thanks, JP.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Yep.
All right. Barbara Noyes Pulling. Hey, Barbara.
Hey, hi, everyone. the planning commission, we did look at our budget last week and discussed it, ready to pass on what we'd like it to be. I'm not sure if a request went in. Maybe Bill can answer that from that discussion. It's basically
It's
level
the-
funding.
Oh,
On the general sheets.
okay. If you, Bill says yes. So if we look at the general budget sheets, the planning commission has what, 2, 3, 4 lines, something like that. And he says yes.
Okay, good, good. The only other thing I have this evening is also last week, we did a site visit of the Post Road Solar proposed development. There were planning commission members there and Mary was there. And we met with the developer. They're now thinking they will have their full application ready for the PUC, the state, in December. So the timing was good to check in with the developer. Seems like we're all on the same page. It will be good to see his final site plan and to see if everything that we've talked about is in there. But you know, we had discussed earlier in previous meetings, like, is the setback enough? And there's not much that can be done there. It's really the terrain is much more varied than I thought it was. And this is why site visits are so good, right? So there's a wetland in the middle. There's all kinds of big hills to accommodate, and they also found they used an old state archaeological study, and they're going to have to stay out of a certain area of the site as well. So, but I think it's on track. One of the questions for them, for the developer, is the curb cut and the access to that site. There's just one access. It's off Route 7. It's a very narrow curb cut, and they probably, I have a feeling V-Trans will ask them to do a little bit more, especially during the construction phase of this. So that's more information that'll be coming down the pike, I think, on this.
Yeah, Matt.
Barbara, when you say on the setback that not much can be done, what do you mean by that? Does that mean that they don't want to because they need the space to put in more panels, or the terrain doesn't allow it, or what's the issue?
Maybe both of those. That they assure us that the screening will be robust there and will be fast-growing trees. They're not willing to go. There's 100 there right now on Route 7. There has to be a 100-foot setback, and that's what they have, and nothing more. And yeah, because of the archaeological site, because of the wetlands, because some of the really steep terrain in there, to get as much, to put as many panels as they want, that's what they're going to be proposing, just that 100-foot setback.
They did speak to plantings that they were going to be doing, and because of the slope of the area, the cars on the road are down lower. So if you put shrubs and trees up a little higher, that's going to more effectively block some of the things up on the hill, just because of, you know, the topography. And you're looking at the side of the panels and not the panels full on, because these are stationary panels. They're not moving with the sun, and they're, you know, pointing south, and travelers on the road are going to be
Because of that,
west of that.
that
So,
location coming out of the city with what's there, you're gonna be by those before you can hardly know they're there.
well,
Be
that
that
could very
short
well be.
section.
Yeah, yeah.
maybe some of the others you might notice. Southbound traffic, you'd be seeing the backside of them probably, but
Some of them, yeah.
they won't be anywhere near as noticeable as the ones in Virgins.
That's very true.
And
And we talked about the ones in Virginia.
you know, though, that was probably the first solar site that I can recall. They've been there at least 20 years. And
I'll give them credit. They do take care of that one up there. in
the sheep do a
Virgins.
nice
Yeah,
job.
they
The
keep the
sheep
goat,
do,
the
yeah.
goats and
Sheep
sheep
in there, and I
keep it
mean,
chewed
it's
down.
well managed, and it's,
There's some solar fields around here that are getting no maintenance at all, which is a little irritating.
Well, we did mention too, the Cold River Road, how the vegetation there has grown up, the plantings have grown up, and that actually shields the view pretty well, so.
you know, I mean, if you're in the second story of a house, you're gonna see
Yes,
that.
you will. Yeah.
The other thing that most of these solar companies have to be mindful of is if you put up shrubs that get too high, those panels along that side lose the afternoon sun.
Mhm.
Or depending on which side the sun's coming. So they're trying to make everybody happy, but still make it so they work.
Yeah.
You know, if you put 10-foot high trees or 12-foot high, you're okay, but if they're 20 or foot high trees, then you're starting to defeat the purpose, so.
Yeah.
I
these-
could have told you that was not flat.
Well, you know me, I have to
Well,
see.
no,
in
I understand,
order
but you
to-
haven't had to try to chop grass out there,
Oh, God.
you know? And you talk about the wetland, there's that one field that's over there, and depending, this summer, you just look at that field.
Yeah. I
You
bet.
don't even walk out there, because you're not coming back.
Yeah.
Anyway.
What
but I
else
think
you
it's
got, Barbara?
good use for that
Well,
land.
that's about it. The panels, as you say, will be facing directly south. So you really won't see too much driving by. And from as far as we can tell, the only people that will be able to see the array would be those up at the armory. And so I don't think it has anything to do, I don't think it'll have much impact for the town or residents at all.
Okay.
If all goes as advertised.
Yeah. So it was I will say, I was pleased at the turnout of the planning commission folks. I think all but one planning commissioner was there. It was a really good turnout. So I was impressed.
We like getting out.
Yeah. Yeah. And we carpooled from Seward, so that was fun too. All right. Any questions of Barbara Noyes Pulling, Town Planning Commission Chair? Okay. Thank you, Barbara. Happy
Thank you.
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Mike Rowe, Town Rec Director.
Good evening, all. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Thank you.
Sharon, I want to wish you a fast, speedy recovery.
Mhm.
I wish you well. Not a lot to report. Basketball starts this coming week after Thanksgiving for rec. I believe we're putting in the rink right after Thanksgiving, so we'll be hoping Mother Nature will kick in. That's a school rec kind of joint thing right by the school. So we'll be calling the fire department there, Chief Clark, to put a little water, help us get kickstarted. Just trying to think. I don't think there's too much other
The
than
discussion on the,
well, you're gonna bring that up.
I'm gonna bring that
Well,
up.
Matt's gonna bring that
Oh,
up. The mountain biking trails, you signed the order, those are finished. We'll be working for signage next spring to kind of help people guide along. Some people have already decided that it's walking paths, so we'll need to mark it a little bit. They came into, oh, it's a pretty steep trail. Yeah, that's the downhill for the mountain bike. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Anyway, so we will definitely do signage next spring. And other than that, I don't think I have much other than to thank Bill and Carrie for their online setup of our payment. It worked very smoothly. Once we ironed out a few wrinkles, well, once the people realized they had to actually fill out both of the forms, which was clearly stated on the form to pay and sign your kid up. So once we got that, it worked out really well. We only had one check turned in for one on in-person registration. So that worked out really
Good,
well.
Good.
So thank you for all that hard work. Other than that, I don't have much. Bill does have the schedule for our rec games. So if you want to jump in and go check out a game at the school, or if there's a place closer to you, then please feel free to do that. We'll be in good shape. That's all I got, unless
Questions
that
for,
or- we did have a rec committee meeting, so I don't know.
Yeah, we had a rec committee meeting, and the subject of the child that went to Christ the King came up, and what the full board needs to understand is that all of the coaches have an agreement that if you go to Christ the King, I'm just using the school, then that's who you'll play for. If you are not, if Christ the King does not have a team, then you play for the town. We were asked to kind of waiver that for one child, and as a committee, we decided we can't do that, because if we do, then it's no longer the rule. So I guess with that, I would make a motion on that we adopt that if you go to
Is that
a
the-
certain school,
is this the
Yep.
yes,
policy?
These three items, Sharon, that are on this page.
what's
This-
that?
This is a policy that we're
Yes.
adopting.
Right,
Okay.
Thanks.
So-
It's really been the policy.
Mhm.
It's been the policy for a long time based on verbal agreement of rec directors, essentially. It's been reflected on our sign up for a year or so. And now we're asking the board to ratify this with adopting this language here as it's
Okay,
written.
you all have this in front of you?
Yep.
Okay,
You-
Sharon's about to make a motion.
okay, can I use your paper, because I don't know where I put mine. Okay, I make a motion that non-residents must have permission before registering. Please contact Mike Rowe. The agreement between town and school is as following. If your school offers the program, then you must play for your school. If your school does not offer the program, you then can play for the town. If your town does not offer the program, you may ask to join another town's program, provided they have room and you have permission from both program directors.
So motion's made. Is there a second? Okay, go ahead, Sharon.
So all in favor?
No. I get to do that part. Is there any further discussion?
No, I didn't hear what you
You-
said. I apologize.
Do you have any, the three of you have any questions
No.
about it? Okay,
No.
I,
No,
Seems
Didn't have any
self-explanatory to
questions
me.
before it
it's
started.
been, just, it's been a long standing practice.
Right, it's just,
And it's had issues over the years. I mean, it's not a one-time thing. This is it happened, just, it's happened multiple. Now we're just taking this. step.
Sometimes you'll
Okay.
find that a family is coach shopping. They like a certain coach, so they want their kid to play for that coach. We can't be doing that.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. There's no further discussion. All in favor of adopting the rec policy, please say aye.
I,
Aye. Anyone opposed? No, it's unanimously approved. So, any other questions or anything else the rec committee wishes to bring up?
You like our budget?
It looks good. We had a vigorous discussion about
Let's-
overtime.
We're not talking about
policy,
it. We're all
but
good.
Don't ask Mike about overtime.
All good. Fine, just the way we
Okay.
are. Let's just keep it there.
All right, so thank you very much.
All right,
Mike.
thanks. Have a great holiday,
You
people.
too.
Thanks,
Happy
Mike.
Thanksgiving. Okay, Dave Sears, Town Road Commissioner.
Hello, everybody.
Zoom
Hello
in
again.
for us. Hi.
Not really a lot going on. We're in that in-between stage. We're trying to keep up with a little bit of the construction, so we spent some time, put a couple guys down on the multi-use path and put the Sure Pack in there, like the top layer of the Sure Pack.
So basically from the parking lot down back, down to where the old path kind of wide off and the new path is going is, we just finished it today. So that part of it's done. It's 8 feet wide. It's really nice. People love it. The people that have been out there walking on it are really happy about it. So we'll just keep chipping away at it and we'll get it one of these days. We spent some time, as Mary's aware, investigating an issue on the corner of Killington Avenue and Sunset Drive. I think we have it settled. I hope. Hope there's no more phone calls.
Well, I got a nice thank you phone call.
Oh,
And the water's going down in the cellar. So I don't know if you or I had anything to do with that, but good for us.
well, yeah, she called and told me that she did have somebody come and take a look at it, and believe it or not, it's full of silt. So she has, I believe, A1 coming next week or something like that to try to clean it out. So we've made a friend.
Very good.
In the last couple of weeks, we responded to the 2 small snow events we had. That's primarily the reason I'm not there tonight, is because probably being at some point tonight doing it again. And just FYI, it's actually sleeting here in Orwell right now.
Ick.
Yeah, fun. We burned a brush pile the other day, got that taken care of, and we got the liquid spray setups on the 2 new to us plow trucks are all up and running. We had to buy some new controllers for them and some different parts, but we'll put some of that 6,000 gallons of mag chloride to use. Hopefully coming up. And working on the bane of my existence, Coeur d'Alene Road, trying to get a grader up there, trying to rent a grader, trying to get a grader, trying to get somebody to do it. And get that kind of graded one last time before winter. And I know, I believe you guys have somewhere in your packet, something about an email that came in from Clarendon. That'd be the one.
Did you get a chance to see it, Dave?
I did, yeah.
Okay, because this, to me, doesn't exactly sound like the way, I thought when we had that meeting and they were here, we were still open to discussion that if they would do the winter maintenance, it would be better. And I thought that was what we said, that you guys and your crew are going to be able to do it. But it'll be in a different format than if Clarendon did it.
Right.
Did I not remember that right? Or is that the way?
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right.
Doesn't the class 4 road maintenance policy say that we're gonna get to it when we, at the end of the storm?
We'll get to it when we get to it, yeah.
So I guess we need to just email that back to them.
Right.
I mean, I have a copy.
I would still like to see Clarendon do the winter maintenance. We'll do the spring and fall and summer maintenance, because
right,
obviously that's not time sensitive, but I think that we should respond to Clarendon in the fact that yeah, we'll be able to do the winter maintenance. It probably won't be to the residents' satisfaction, and it would be better if Clarendon did it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's a half a mile of road. It's not a huge inconvenience to them, I wouldn't think, but they're making it out to be that way. So I'm kind of torn. I feel like, we have a couple extra trucks now, so we're at 4. I kind of slated the F550 to go up there and plow that. It probably won't get sanded right away because, he's going to be doing a lot of parking lots and cul-de-sacs and some of the steeper roads that we have trouble with the big trucks on. So he could get up there and plow it, get it plowed in a moderately timely fashion. I'm not sure that that's going to satisfy anybody over there, because I'm not sure anything will satisfy anything over there. But I think we can get to, I know we can get to it faster than we did last year. So I agree that if Clarendon is there and they can do it, I'm sort of okay with that, but I know that we're gonna be more responsive to it this year than we were able to be last year. So I'm kind of torn. I don't really, if they want to do it and be reasonable about it and just make a pass down there, that's okay. I can talk to Tim Hubbard, who plows that section, and he can make a pass up there with his truck, but he's not going to be able to sand it. I mean, he's already
Right.
there. He can just continue up. Problem is he doesn't have shoes on his truck because he's, I mean, this is probably a highway committee meeting and we're getting kind of off in the weeds here, but
Yeah.
you know, he's going to be out there plowing a dirt road with just a bare plow edge. It's likely to make, he might do the grading for us and we won't have to worry about it.
Right.
Yeah. Does he have he has a floating edge too, doesn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, you don't want to do that then.
No.
Yes,
No, I
floating edge. And those dig.
Yeah.
So I would
Yeah,
also,
that's what I'm saying. So,
Keep him out of there.
yeah.
Yeah.
no,
so,
but-
you know,
but
I mean, we may want to,
point to, no, let me make this point if I could, just, it occurs to me that they want to know the name of the contractor who's going to plow. Does that mean they're going to be calling him directly, which I think is a
Oh,
really
boy.
bad idea?
No, I think they're just,
So-
I think they're just trying to figure out if we came up with a plan, which,
Our plan is it's a class 4
Well, we're
road.
gonna
We
do what we've
plow it
always
when we
done,
can.
and I don't know where this contractor thing, because we never said anything about
No.
a
no,
contractor.
I think the contractor goes back to the grading thing when Cash gave me the name of the two contractors to do the grading. I think that's
So
what
I
I
don't
came
know
from.
Yeah, when it comes to snow plowing, I'm not sure where that's at.
Yeah,
but
no, it's, that's
the
not the-
email, the email kind of needs to go of a sort with our class 4 road policy attached to it that we're gonna plow it when we can get
So,
to it in a
a lot
reasonably
of what-
timely manner after the storm.
a lot of what happened to get us here is that the Quarterline Road residents just kept showing up at the select board meetings and just kind of pressuring them to do something. So this is kind of their attempt at doing something.
Yeah.
I
They've been
don't
showing
know.
up on there.
You know, Dave, when we had those meetings, I didn't think that this is like that big an inconvenience. You know, there was something about, well, the truck only holds so much sand and I don't know if they can do a
Right.
half-mile more road with the sand and it was, you know, and it's, you know, if they don't want to appease their own residents, our residents would like the road plowed and taken care of. They don't complain too much, so they come first. You have a plan. Your plan is to get to it as soon as you can, probably with a 550, and then they'll have to go back and sand it once they take the salt out. That's what we're gonna go with. If the Clarendon wants it done faster or better, then they need to do it themselves, or to me, just, you know, they gotta,
Yeah,
you know,
we tried.
we tried.
We gave them a pretty good offer that would have taken
Yeah.
care of all the issues.
And the board refused our,
They didn't want it.
yep, so they
We
need to,
tried.
they need to deal with their residents and, we'll go with your plan. But
Okay.
we can respond in that manner. You know, we have a plan to plow it per our class forward road policy, and to Kurt's point, we'll send them a copy of the policy.
Okay.
Yep,
Sounds like a
We
plan.
can do that.
Yep.
And then the
What
only other
else?
thing, that was kind of all I had. The only other thing that was on the list was the highway committee meeting, which was our budget meeting.
We went
Okay.
through that, nothing, nothing really earth shattering. We discussed the budgets, pretty good shape. There were some things done. They got the, ventilation system fixed, working on the, getting their generator up and running, and, that generator will be added to the, list of the, ones that are serviced by,
Oh, that
the-
was the
our
reference in the
contractor.
minutes.
And,
Okay.
and actually the contractor is the one that's been working with Dave to get, there was some parts burned out or messed up, so they're getting that taken care of. The biggest thing that's come up, and I don't know, this is far reaching and very painful, is the state of Vermont, when a new road in town comes along, they assign a highway number to that road. That highway number, to the best of our understanding, is part of our aids to grants and aids things, that the money we get from the state is based on the list of roads. What has come to light is that the lister's office uses an entirely different numbering system, and we don't know if there's any downfall to this or anything, whether the listers are probably not really thrilled with the idea that those numbers would have to correspond with the state's numbers, but if they do, there will be some real time consuming changes need to be made. So Bill was going to try to do some work.
I have an update. I'll have an update for you.
Okay, so Bill has an update, so more to follow, but this is one of those things like,
do we care?
Well, that's what
Well,
we're trying to figure out.
that's what we're trying to do. If there is an issue that they have to be the same, then we do care.
Okay.
If Bill has information that says otherwise, then we'll just throw this in here with the recycling and move on.
Bill, do you have an update for us?
Yes, do you want to talk about it now or do you want to? Okay.
No, this
So
is
I
fine.
I had reached out to the state a little while ago when this first kind of came up and asked them on a non-specific reason, what is the scenario for assigning roads? And their answer was, we do it. I'm like, so I ended up calling the guy, told him what the issue was, and he said, okay. He's like, so you guys changing your numbers to match what we have is probably not a great plan. It'd be astronomically a problem for us to change it to what you have. So we are going to not do anything with the road numbers you have right now. And what we agreed is that the next time there is a road, it is going to be Town Highway 201, and they're going to go up from there.
Oh.
And we're going to match.
Okay.
So they are going to have a copy of our list. So if a reference doesn't match theirs, they're going to look at our list. We have their list. So then we can nothing's going to change with what we have now for either side.
Okay.
That was the most equitable thing we figured we could do. There are some ordinances that specifically reference town highway numbers in them. So we will need to decide which list we're going to use for that, because it's got to be one or the other.
Okay. All right.
That's easy enough then.
Yeah, I think so.
I've
Okay.
talked to the listers. They're very happy with that.
Very good. Okay.
All right, well, that was a more delicate topic, so I think that's it.
Right. Thank you.
This address thing is quite a big deal,
Yeah. Any other questions for our highway commissioner?
Think of any?
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Happy Thanksgiving and see you Monday morning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Dave.
Can't wait.
Okay. Marcia Chaffee is not on the call. So move along. Chris Clark, Fire Chief. He is.
Good evening.
Good evening, Chief.
On your desk, I put a piece of paper too, just a couple items I want to go over. We don't have to go over any of the budget stuff tonight.
Right.
Do you have that paper or no?
We do.
Okay. So like number one, that's kind of a budget question, but since I'm working on the budget, do you guys have an answer for that?
Well, we did kind of raise it and discuss it a little bit at our last select board meeting. And what we said was just because this is about the public safety building and how do we budget for it. So I think our consensus was just use the same numbers you've been using for the old McKinley station. And then when we have a track record after the new McKinley station is built, we will update it for the next fiscal year. Is that
Yeah.
the
and I-
consensus we came to?
One of,
Yeah.
one of the thoughts is that these specific items, electricity, telephone, water, sewer, heat, and the building maintenance may be moved into the general account. Remember, that was.
We
one of-
did.
yeah.
That was, so is that this year or next year?
Well, I would like to see it this year, but I don't know how to do that because I
Yeah.
have no clue what number to use unless we use McKinley's numbers from last year, or because what'll end up happening is the fire budget will go down a little bit because they won't be budgeting and they will just be moved into the general, but I think that's up to the rest of you, but
My druthers, I'd rather leave it this year and make the change after we have a track record from McKinley, but I don't know, what do other people think? Matt?
Well, this is the same point I raised last time, which I realize maybe there's a limited, well, no, we're gonna have a whole heating season and we're talking about fiscal year that starts in July.
Yeah.
You know, and goes through an entire winter where we're gonna, but well, the building won't be done until November, but by most of the heating season, the building's gonna be up.
Right.
And I don't see how you would not be increasing all those numbers because right now the police department is in here using heat and electricity in this building to some extent. And
but it's not budgeted separately.
Yeah.
that's my point.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you're still gonna have to eat this space over here.
Right.
So this isn't gonna change.
No,
But you're gonna have the people in that building, in the new building, all the time. So how, it seems to me if you use the numbers at McKinley from the past, that those are gonna be too low.
It probably will be. So, I mean,
How
so it's
badly
like,
are we
you
willing
wanna,
to blow that
we can
budget?
flip a coin and go either way, but I think ultimately it's because it serves two departments, it just would just be in the general account.
I'm
and
fine with that. I just think
You
there
just
needs
don't
to
know
be-
what, how do we come up with a number?
I just think that there needs to be a little bit of a margin in there for
But
increase.
one of the
because-
things that, the fire budget does have though is, that's both stations. They're not broken down separately. So there isn't a separate budget for center and a separate budget for McKinley. So it's very difficult to come up with a number for each station. I suppose Johnson's could tell us how much fuel they put there, but like the electricity, I'm not sure we can budget, figure that out.
Okay.
Or the other option is to take the total numbers for the two stations. And because see, Chris has got to still come up with some numbers for center. And so we got to figure out how to separate them. So we either got to do 1 year of calculating, starting July 1st of this year to June 30th of next year. Would be that, but how we put budget numbers out this year, I'm not sure. We could use the fire department's totals for the two stations for 1 year,
Mhm.
put those into the general budget for the public safety building starting July 1st of next year. And so you'll have extra money in that budget. Chris will have more than he needs. And because one thing is there will be no cost for McKinley for like 9 months.
Yeah.
So he'll have a pretty good accurate amount of what center costs. So.
Yeah.
That,
And
I mean, we,
our general budget has a little bit more.
flexibility.
We have more to work with.
There's some more money there
I
to
guess-
work with if we have. to go
I guess
over
that's the
our-
way I would do it.
So two folks, maybe three, think, let's address it this year when we do the general budget and put in
Yeah.
Utilities for the McKinley Avenue station.
Have, the fire budget will reflect the same numbers. You won't need any increases for,
Right.
for heating, electricity, those 5 items. He won't need any increases. Put in the same number in the fire budget for those. And we'll use those same numbers, but put them in the general budget for the new building. And then we'll get, so we're either gonna have, should be some left in fire that they don't spend. And with any luck, the combined of the entire fire department will be more than enough to satisfy the new building for the next budget year. Does
So
that work for you, Matt?
You confused me there a little bit. So are
Okay.
you talking about only moving the new building into general? Or are you talking about moving both buildings?
No, just the new one. But budget in the fire budget, Chris would budget the same amount for these 5 items that he has historically done without any increases, because he's only gonna have one station.
right.
We know that'll be too much, theoretically, should be too much. But take that same dollar amount for each of these 5 items and put it in the general for the public safety specifically,
So you're saying we're gonna basically double the amount.
right? And then spend what you need to spend. I'd rather have it and not be short.
Okay, so the pendulum has now swung very far in the other direction.
Well, it has, but that's the only way to do it and not come up short.
How much money are we talking about?
Without having that high, fire budget right in front of me. I couldn't-
We could talk about that at our
Yeah.
separate budget meeting.
Yeah.
Would that work for you,
So-
Chris, if we do it that way?
Yeah, it works for me.
Yeah, sure
I
it
mean,
does.
I mean, because down the road, those items would come out of the general budget because they serve the two departments, and there's no way to figure out which department's using what. That's just ludicrous to even try.
We find out the new building is running on vodka, though, we're gonna have some questions.
Yeah. If it's alcohol you're buying, we're gonna be figuring you got a different furnace.
So, we will create in our general budget, we'll create the lines for the McKinley Station. And we'll also include basically last year's number for the current fire, for the fire
You know, we
facilities.
can look at the
You know, and I'm
actual,
okay with that because if there's any excess, it goes into the capital construction.
and it
so
won't,
it's
I
not-
don't think it'll be
It
that
won't be
much.
huge. I don't think
Um,
these are big numbers
And,
anyway.
and
So,
Chris can use, for his budget, he can use actual expenditures for
Yeah.
the last fiscal year because he was taking care of two stations. Now he's only gonna be taking care of one. So he'll be out ahead a little bit, which should be good.
our town treasurer has a question.
Have we confused you?
Take it up the fridge.
First of all, what did you do when Center Rutland was torn down? How did you budget for
Boy,
that?
wasn't here. Wasn't here then.
So that year, we budgeted, normally. We just budgeted what we needed to say and use what we used. The difference is it was only one department in the building, in Center Rutland. So we
Wasn't
didn't.
the police department
See,
too.
right, the issue with the new building is you're combining two departments in one building that are gonna have shared expenses of the water or the sewer, the electricity, heat and stuff, so it would be hard to break that down to put it into either budget. So that one fiscal year, they started the Center Rutland Station in the spring of 13. I just budgeted the same amount I did the year before. And any excess just went back.
Lost me a little bit. And you're probably right. You lost me when I know that the general budget helps the police, right? That's what ultimately happens at the end of the year. But it doesn't necessarily
It's the-
overflow for the fire.
Right, there's no line items in the police budget for these five, building maintenance, electricity, telephone, water, there's nothing in the police budget for that. So we have, it's just figured into this building. It's not set out, so there's no way, and so there's no way to have even any idea what that got, so when you have two departments in one building, it would be almost impossible to say, okay, police is using 40% of the electricity or 50, so the idea would be to just put those in the general, take care of those five items. The police will not show in their budget anything for those. Fire still will, because they'll be taking care of one station on their own, but going through one, basically,
Just 1 year doing that.
right, 1 year, so
We get an idea and then moving forward, then they
So,
put it in
so
their
when,
budget.
when we're here, probably at this time next year doing budgets,
Right.
the fire department will have a 9-10 month idea of what it costs to take care of just one station. Starting September 1st of this year to June 30th, they're only got one station to deal with. So there'll be, those items will be down. So in next year's budget, there will be less water, less electricity, less heat, less building maintenance, because they won't be there. And then we will use the numbers that we're projecting being the fire department's totals for those items for the new building. And after we're in that building for a year, we'll know, we'll know how close we came, and we'll have to adjust them up or down.
And I'm sure when we move forward with all of this stuff for that budget year, ask vendors if there's a way to see how much, I mean,
Right.
like phones will get an
Well,
idea.
yeah.
And.
Because realistically,
because it's not a fire station or police station, it's a public safety building. So the public safety building maintenance will just fund through the general fund. And then it's not coming out of either the fire department's budget or the police budget, because there's no way of tracking, there's not separate power meters. There's no
Yeah.
way to see, who's burning how much oil,
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah, so, and the thing with the public safety building is we will put that money into the budget. It starts July 1st. The building will probably open sometime in October, November.
So we're gonna have a couple of
So-
months savings
so
there, yeah.
There, but we will go through that fiscal year that we're planning for. And we're gonna be like 2 years out before we'll have an actual
Yeah,
number.
yeah,
But the fire stations will know in 1 year.
okay.
Okay.
So there, for budget planning purposes, we'll add lines in the general budget to cover these expenses. And we'll ask Chris to do his usual, just level fund these items in his fire budget, knowing that he's going to be generating, probably is going to be having more than he needs, but that's okay. We've got it covered.
Right.
Okay, clear as mud so far?
Well, it's better than being short. I hate being
Yeah,
short.
I know.
And we won't be over by that much.
So that answers number one. I'm looking at Chris Clark's thing. I think the number two will reserve for the budget discussion.
Right.
Okay.
Number
Number
three,
three,
just-
what?
I just
Yeah.
wanted to go over it so we could, I'm hoping number three can start January 1st instead of July 1st.
Yeah, let me explain what the fire committee discussed at its meeting. Chris brought in a schedule of what the their counterparts over in the police department were being paid per hour, and made this suggestion here of an adjustment to put the chiefs and the assistant chiefs and the other folks in line with what the payments are on the police side. Now, keeping in mind, police is, many of them are full-time as opposed to the firefighters being, this is all part-time. So that's why I asked him to pull these numbers together and make this proposal, and suggested, if the rest of the board agrees, that we make these pay raises effective January 1st. Because, and I guess a question is, do we have the money in the budget to do it? Okay. And then when July 1st comes around, we take the increased numbers and we add the pay raise, the 4% pay raise to them. Is that a fair summary of what we discussed, Chris?
That is exactly what we discussed.
Okay,
Do-
so
do
what's your
you-
thought?
You need a motion to do that, or?
Yeah, I guess, well, yes, a motion would be good.
So I'd move that we approve the increases as requested by the chief.
Beginning January
Very
1,
first, yeah.
as set out in his memo to us. Okay.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. So Chief, did you run the numbers, and in this year's budget, do you have the numbers to take care of this pay increase?
We do.
Okay.
So you want to vote on your motion, or?
Well, if there's any more I wanted to make sure that we said how we were going to pay for it. And we weren't deficit spending for it. But let
No.
me see if there's any other questions or comments from select board members before we vote. And crickets here on our end. Therefore, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, so when you're budgeting, you got to put these increases in, as I'm sure you know.
Correct. So number 4, starting July 1st. I wrote on here how like the chief, assistant chief, captain, and lieutenants would get their normal rate of pay for daytime calls. And like right now, everybody on the roster gets $23.85 a call, or per hour for daytime calls. So I wanted to switch the chief, assistant chief, captain, and lieutenants to their normal rate of pay for their daytime calls starting in July.
So is that part of our discussion that we'll have when we do the budget, fire department
Yeah,
budget?
that can be more for the budget, nothing for tonight, but.
Okay, so keep that in mind. That's going to be part of the chief's request.
I'm sorry, can I?
Yeah, go
question?
ahead. Matt's got a question on
I'm
that.
not following how this relates to the vote that we just took.
Well, so currently it sounds like everybody gets 2385, whether you're a firefighter or a chief officer. And what Chris is proposing is that starting July 1st of 24, the rates will be will be what we just approved, above that.
So
So
the other rates, when do those apply for meetings?
the daytime calls.
Oh.
It's for the daytime calls, because we've been paying the firefighters for daytime calls. We started that last year, or this, yeah. We're 1 year into it, right, Chris?
Okay, but my
My
question is, what
Yeah.
distinguishes daytime calls from these other rates that we just approved?
The rates that we approved, those are for, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that is for administrative work,
Admin work.
admin work.
Yeah.
Okay. That was
Correct.
something we initiated, the town did in 02 or 03. And then,
That's correct. And
Okay, remember when we did the daytime
It-
call out numbers, we wanted to make sure that people weren't losing money
Right.
leaving their
from
job.
their day job and when they went on a fire call. So this, all of that's.
And
the
you
background.
have hours in effect when that takes place, right, Chris?
we do, it's 6 to 4, 6 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Okay.
Monday through Friday.
Okay, just 5 days a week. All right.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. It's-
Okay.
So,
So that will be, we don't have to vote on that. That's for our budget discussion.
Correct.
Okay.
I can skip number. That can be for the
Yep.
budget. Number 6, we talked about, not saying we have to do it this coming budget, but we can also talk about that at budget time if you want. For the depreciation fund, I looked it up. None of the numbers have been changed since 2001.
This would be, have to be a separate.
put that on the ballot.
On the ballot if we agree to do it. If this is the year to do it, or do we hold off another year?
I think
Was kind of the question.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
And
thank you. Good stuff
I got one more
to,
thing.
yeah,
The last thing is we have a 1992 Ford pickup truck currently sitting in the town garage. My plan, if you guys so approve, I'd like to order a new pickup. And if we order it soon, it'll be here when the new building opens. And then we can get rid of the current 32-year-old pickup truck that's starting to cost us a little money. It was supposed to be replaced a few years ago. We kind of skipped over it. But I thought.
And if I
now
might
would be the
interject, it
perfect
smokes like a
time.
demon.
It sure does.
well, I see.
Just
Let me
saying.
make,
Yeah.
let me make a suggestion on this one. The fire committee didn't hear about this request, so, and usually the committees take a look at the request before we make a recommendation. So I would ask that we send this to the fire committee to get a little more information and come back with a recommendation. Bill did include in here the Rutland Town Fire, or the vehicle replacement schedule. And that, along with the, what we have from Chris for the notes.
Yeah.
Are good places to start, so.
So Chris, I would have a question would you be, how much do you use the 350 now?
Not much for the winter. It's more of a, it's got the water tank in the back for brush fires and stuff. Right now, we'd use it for picking up hose at a fire or something like that, but so it won't get used. So I was hoping if we could get it out of Dave's garage, he'd have a little more space in there.
All right, so my thought would be, would you be able to say, once you guys meet with the fire committee, I'm pretty sure, we'll approve the purchase of the replacement vehicle. Would you be thinking of getting rid of that right off to free up some space there and not have to, and have that gone? Would that be your plan? Or would you want to hang on to it till the new one came?
Well, I thought about getting rid of it as soon as we could, just for more room for him, so he can fit some more, his plows inside. But I don't know how you guys get rid of it. So we just
I've had this
sell it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, given what happened when we thought we were getting rid of a police cruiser, and then we realized we weren't getting the replacement right away. Was that the vehicle we were waiting on? You might want to hold on that decision, whether you're getting rid of it right away or waiting until the new one arrives.
Okay.
Just part of the discussion.
Well, you guys have that discussion,
We
but
have
I
that,
would
yeah,
be in
we'll have
favor
that
of that. I'd be
discussion.
in favor of that.
Okay, all right, good. So we'll set up a fire committee meeting and go over
Sounds
this.
good.
Thank you. Okay,
right, that's
any
all I
other
have.
questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
Chris, it was brought up to me, some of those hydrants that are privately owned, like in the Green Mountain Shopping Plaza. We aren't inspecting those, or are we?
We're not. It's the owner's responsibility.
Yeah, that's my issue, Chris, because I think we need to make the owners responsible to somehow, go ahead, Joey.
There's an ordinance in place in town that we adopted about 10 or 15 years ago, maybe longer, that requires privately owned hydrants to be maintained by the owners. The town, I would say, hasn't been following up on that, but there already is an ordinance in place.
Okay, so shouldn't we send a reminder?
I think the committee
Because
met.
my issue, Joey, is we have a fire down there. They go hook up to a hydrant.
They're full of stones. And they're done this. Yeah, I think that was part of the meeting they had that 2 weeks ago was the hydrant ordinance, and I think there's some movement on that. Mary, you're working on that or something? But the ordinance was in place because that is exactly what happened. We arrived at a call.
Yes.
That
was
we
pretty
tried to make
sad.
2 hydrants, neither one of them would work. I brought it up at a board meeting. Long story short, I was told the firemen need education on how to open and close hydrants. That didn't go over well with the fire chief. So, within a month, the town had an ordinance requiring that all privately owned hydrants, whether they're on the fire districts or like the Green Mountain Plaza,
Right.
other ones, have to be inspected once a year. And there's supposed to be a sheet and we're supposed to be getting stuff, but I just think that it's one of those that if it's not staring you in the face, you don't remember to
Well,
make sure it's
maybe
done.
we should send
So,
them out a
so here's
reminder.
what we did. Okay, and my little note at the top says, because you just said, aren't we working on this? We have an ordinance in effect now to be revised January 2024, because I said, please let me get through the budget cycle first. So that's what we decided. So yes, it's on our radar screen, but not until January.
And Bill has been working on locating where a lot of these
Hope
are.
there's not a fire before then.
Well, Sharon, if we
Down
have
she
the
goes.
time,
Yep.
perhaps we can tackle something more.
Whatever.
Fire hydrant doesn't open, down she goes. Yep.
Yeah.
How it is.
Even some of the ones that the city maintains for the town don't work.
One of the valleys.
The
Yep.
ordinance says it is the responsibility of the property owner.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah, so we just need to make sure they know, they're aware of it and reminded of it, I guess.
If I
That's one of
might,
the few ordinances.
just a quick, in my previous life, I dealt with the Green Mountain Plaza Heights, and they religiously have them tested and operated. Green Mountain Plaza is really good about that. And the La Valley hydrant has been replaced.
Yeah.
Okay.
And with any luck, it drains now. Or not.
It does not drain. It's a new
Not supposed to.
non-drain.
That's not, yeah, that's the one you have to pump out.
Yep, that's new non-draining hydrant,
Yeah.
which is
Okay,
obnoxious.
so
one
anything
used to fill with
else
water.
for our town fire chief? No. Okay, thank you, chief, and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, Carrie Clark, town clerk and treasurer.
Oh dear.
Oh, he's.
Yeah, yeah, it's right there. I've got this. Yeah. Hi.
Hi. Seems like it's been forever. Okay, let's see. Good news. COTS is up and running. We are
Oh,
online.
excellent. Okay,
Rutland Town's online.
good.
We're like one of the last ones. We're online.
Okay.
I'm so excited. So the link is on our homepage, links onto my page. And it is, I don't know if the link is on Facebook, but the idea is on Facebook. Yeah. So excited. I got
Good.
training
Good.
for an hour the last 3 days. Just kind of the basics of navigating the site if researchers aren't
People call.
aren't sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for me, for my purposes, I've never used it before. So it's really exciting. The one thing I do want to put on record, and it is on a pop-up on the site, is that they stopped at a certain point
Yes.
scanning,
Yes.
and I continued recording as normal, as a clerk should. So there's a gap of I've got to go back to where they stopped scanning, and I started to record and put that into NIMRIC. So our Record Hub. And so there's a pop-up that says, here are the books that are available. This is what we paid for. If you need anything past this point, if you're looking for an updated record that may have just come in last week or this week, it's not quite in that system yet. The clerk's working on it, and to call the office.
Okay,
So
good. And then, of course, they didn't go back.
they went to
Way back,
book 185 is
Okay.
what we can see, but they're getting the exact point where they went back so that we can
Good.
put that on there
Great.
as well. And it looks like NIMRIC,
COTS.
no, it looks like NIMRIC, like what we asked for as far as the date, December, late in 2015, I think is when it went,
Okay.
how far it goes back. So that's
Good.
so exciting.
Congratulations. That
Right.
was a long time coming.
Really was,
Yeah.
absolutely. Other good news is just before this meeting, John Weston sent me an email saying that our underwriting was done for the ACH tax payment option,
Good.
and that after Thanksgiving, he'll get in touch with me. Susan and I are going to be the guinea pigs on our
Okay.
taxes to make sure that it's set up the right way. After we have that verification, it should be ready for the public, and I can offer that
Wonderful.
as soon as it's ready.
Good.
Yeah. Lot money was supposed to be here around this time. I checked twice today. We haven't received it yet.
I'm sorry, what money?
Our 1%. Our
Oh,
local
okay.
options
Okay.
tax lock money. Not quite here yet, so when I get back on Monday, I will see if it came or.
This is one we want to be really careful about because the city's 1% has started. Now,
That's why I'm checking
yes,
every day.
okay. Thank
Making
you.
sure it comes to us and how much it is and all of that.
Yeah.
It'll be questioned if I see anything.
Okay, appreciate that.
Absolutely.
It's 3 times as much as ours, and if it's half as much, there's a problem.
Got it.
Just checking.
There we
On the
go.
same page.
Same page. And then lastly is we probably should have a discussion on what we're going to do to reach out either to the bond bank or Loan Wise. We did receive one reply from a bank that was in your packets. And then there were some questions from, I know, our town attorney to the bank to get some clarification. But I put that out there for a discussion because December 18th is the deadline for the bond bank application. I sat in on a webinar the other day for more information on how to fill that application out. It is extensive. The first thing, there's a lot of things that we need to work on or get in place to get this application in and through, one of which is we need to choose a bond counsel. That is almost the first thing that they ask us.
So let's see which way we go. And I think we're going to make the decision tonight, whether we go conventional financing with the bank or whether we go to bond counsel. Let's go down to C while we have you here. And that's board to review public safety building financing options. We have Kevin Brown did some work and sent us around an email. Here's the issue. We did get one bank who said, yes, we're interested, and they sent us the proposal. That response didn't take into account that the statute only allows us to borrow conventionally for 5 years. So if we borrow with a conventional bank, we have to refinance at the end of 5 years. And that means, of course, interest rates can change and not necessarily for the better. So however, the payments will be amortized over whatever, the 10 or 20-year option that we go with, but we have to refinance after 5 years, and then, the 5 years after that and the 5 years after that until it is paid. So
And I've been one of the ones that keeps bringing this up, is that the only advantage to a conventional loan is we can pay it off early. Without being penalized. You cannot pay off a bond early in any way, form. So if you sign up for 20 years, you're in for 20 years.
That's exactly right.
Whether or not that's an issue, I don't know.
What's the interest? I think you mentioned it last meeting on the bonds, the bond bank route.
I didn't bring it with me, but it's between 3.4 and 5.
5.46 I have here.
That's for
That's
the
the community.
for the loan.
What?
You're looking at
Loan
community.
is-
That's for the loan.
I'm not
So
sure.
3.5
516 or
and
546.
what's the high end?
Don't quote me on this, but it's around 5. The webinar I just did, I wrote it down. I didn't bring it in here with me because I didn't
Okay.
know what you needed or already
So
had.
would it be fair to say it's probably not higher than the commercial?
Correct.
They do-
Correct. But again, to remind everybody, that is a projected. They don't give us that rate until we're locked in and that they've gone out to buy their.
Yeah, and right now it's gonna be higher rather than lower. Cause you can get pretty good money on a CD, so they're gonna, in order for people to pay in to buy these bonds, they're gonna have to get a pretty good interest rate in return.
My concern with the conventional route is at the end of 5 years, we don't know where the interest rates are going to be. And they could be,
If we have a good 5 years, the
Much
end of
worse.
5 years, you might pay it off.
pay off a 20-year obligation in 5 years. I'm not that wildly optimistic.
I was
but-
My
hoping it's 10.
concern, I think it's more likely than not rates go down in 5 years, but then is your lender gonna want to refinance with you?
Yeah.
I mean,
You roll it into a bond.
Because we only had one bank this
they not-
time.
right, there isn't competition here, so there's not a lot of incentive. It doesn't seem.
The interest rates aren't that far apart right now. It's 5.16 on what they projected, and we're looking at somewhere maybe in the 5, but I know with the bond that rate is, you're locked in for the
Yes,
duration though.
yes.
So that's one advantage. I just was hoping for the option that, we've been very lucky that our 1% options tax has been coming in higher than normal. And I was thinking that, over a 10-year period, we might pay this off in 10 years versus 20.
How would that work? Would we simply budget for additional payments
What we,
for a fiscal year? Under the assumption that the 1% is going to come.
well,
out?
you would budget it for the amount, whatever the repayment amount is. In anticipate, this is a little different than budgeting for like a house mortgage, because with a house mortgage, you go in and you say, okay, it's 25-year mortgage and you're paying $1,000 a month. But if you want to put 1,100 on there every month, you're going to pay that off sooner. Everybody knows that. And these are a little bit different setups with lump sum payments and stuff. So I'm a little more confused as to how the payback schedule is.
Which one are you talking about
With a
specifically?
conventional.
Payback schedule under the statute is you have to pay it in 5 years. So that's why it would be amortized as if it were a longer period, but at the end of the 5, you'd have a giant balloon payment. And then you'd be relying on the bank to work.
And if
with
they
you to
said no,
refinance.
we're not going to refinance the remaining balance, then then you'd have to get a bond for the remaining balance. I mean, that option is always out there.
Yeah, you just bond for the remaining balance,
Right.
or, if we're good with our capital improvement money in 5 years, it's probably not unfeasible to come up with 1.4 million.
I'm still leaning toward.
We also have the pool. I think that's gonna hit within 5 years, 5 to 10 years.
no.
Yep. And then there's the school bonding that could occur. So those things are gonna be
Which
draws on,
Could be significant from
That's
what I'm
right.
hearing.
But
they could be draws on the ability of taxpayers to pay too.
Regardless
so what's
of-
our bondability going to be if we get another bond?
We don't know. What's our borrow ability going to be if we face a 1.4 balloon in 5 years? I don't like the uncertainty. I know that you'd prefer to, and there's real attraction to saying, maybe we can pay it off early, and we weren't able to do that with Center Rutland, and we were really annoyed because of that. In this case, we're using every bit of available cash that we have. And so we don't have to borrow all of it. And
the thing
Worst
is,
part
is-
is we've taken a bunch of available cash and put it on a bond that we can't pay off.
I want the certainty.
And
the thing is
And
we
Matt's
are
got
able,
something.
we are able to go either way for this project. Some of the other things that the town may need to do, may not have that option. They may only have the bond
True.
option. Okay, so if we get too many going, I don't know how that would work, if the school has to go out to do something. The pool's gonna be expensive. We're gonna have some of the money in it for that pool, but not all of it.
No, no.
I have a minor suggestion that you could do to help kickstart that even more. And that would just be to increase the depreciation account to the equal of the fire, and then you will accumulate a lot more than you're accumulating now, which is less money you have to borrow later. We've already accumulated quite a bit since we made the change a couple of years ago, probably 5 years ago, to what we have in there now. If you go, like I originally asked to go what the fire did, what the fire takes
Right.
yearly, because that would just build up that depreciation account, which means it's less money that the town has to borrow when that project comes up.
Yeah, you're gonna spend the
That's
money
food
one
for
way or the
thought.
other. You're just not paying interest.
Correct.
And
But you
I've always been
also-
a fan
you
of
don't
that.
see the dollar that comes out of your.
Any idea, Mike, 5 years what a pool would cost? I mean, I know you've done a little
You're
bit.
probably, if I had a magic window, you're probably looking at 3.
Okay.
The number I
Is
just
my guess.
pulled out of the air.
Matt, let's get back on this
Yeah, sorry.
project. Yeah.
Right,
So,
but
So wait, Matt.
For a big
had something.
project.
He's been waiting patiently.
so I'm just uncomfortable with the uncertainty, and I think we've stretched this conversation as long as beyond where we can stretch it time-wise. We need to be hiring bond counsel like yesterday. and get this thing done on time. So I guess I'm just gonna move that we go ahead with the bond route, because I don't
So
think we have time to
Motion's
discuss
been
it.
made. Is there a second to go with the bond? I'll second it.
So you guys are all about certainty, but we don't have certainty. Our bonds could come back at 6.5%.
That I'm gonna just say what I heard on the webinar and he didn't allude to that. Stranger things have happened, but
Well, yeah,
No, but let me just say the previous discussion we had with them like 2 months ago.
Yep.
It was like around 4-ish. So this is not, I mean, it went up a little bit, but it's not a huge jump up to 6% or anything, I don't think.
The commercial quote is of course not a commitment, but I can't imagine that the bond would be coming in way more than where the commercial bank is right now.
Historically, that's been true. But history has been being made every day lately.
I won't argue. I won't argue with you about that. Nor would I argue
You know,
about us being on a bad luck streak lately. So
I mean, I suppose if we go with the bond for this building, and then we will have the option with a pool to do either or there also.
Yeah.
is there a,
Hopefully, when we get to the pool, we won't have our backs against the wall time wise. I don't like making decisions when your back's against the wall, because sometimes you don't always make the best ones when you're pressured. And, you know, I know we've been talking about this
We
for
have,
about a
and
year.
we've done our due diligence.
But-
And
but-
we've gone out to conventional banks. We got one quote,
Yeah.
which
Which is
concerns me too.
Which is a disappointment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that also raises the,
I would think municipalities would be.
I thought
a
they'd
good
be
risk, wouldn't
excellent
you?
risks, yeah.
Yeah.
But-
we have a good track.
Pretty safe bet that you're
Yeah.
probably gonna get paid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose we can look at other ways to pay some other stuff. You know, we can't pay the other bond off ahead of time, but maybe if we have a good year and we have extra monies in that capital improvement fund, we can delay putting the Center Rutland bond on the tax rate. Well, keep pushing that back as far as we can, because
That's true, yes.
we've gotten out 10 years without having to do that. So I guess that's out there too. So-
The only issue with that is you're putting that money over there on something that's you're already gonna have to pay out interest on.
Right.
So
And I hate that.
you're better off keeping that cash. Like, what do we put 500,000 on that? A couple years.
No,
couple-
well, we put, when we first did
we-
it,
we
it
took-
was more than
We took
that.
But
the
then
balance, we
the
took some money
balance-
from somewhere, but we just
Yeah.
transferred
Was that 2
a
years ago?
half million from the cash to open, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We went from
We just took-
1.5 to
Right,
a million
Yeah,
to pay off the bonds.
That,
well, to pay down the,
Pay
make
down the
the,
bond.
make the payments. on
yeah,
that.
and that 500,000 would have been better placed towards the public safety building. Because then we would be saving it from having to bond this
The
out
interest
at a
on this
higher
one.
interest
Shoulda,
rate.
coulda, woulda.
Yeah, I know, I wasn't here.
And I'm sure you would've fixed it all.
But this is the thing, so there's a lot of things the town probably could have done different in the last 10 years that would have benefited us down the road, but neither here nor there now.
hindsight's 2020.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, we have this, I guess if we have to make a decision,
Yes,
and
we
if
do.
we can't wait 2 more weeks,
No.
obviously, so if,
And nothing would happen in the next 2 weeks that would, I mean, we've gotten the answer from the.
We've only
commercial
got one
banking
bank. I mean,
industry, so.
I still prefer that method, but I understand the other side of it too. Cause if that falls through, then we miss the window of opportunity until June, is
Yeah.
it?
Yeah,
To
Yeah.
bond
Mhm.
again? They do it every 6 months?
and we run out of money before then.
we do.
We figured right
February,
February,
March.
March. You
We'll
just
go borrow
signed
it from the
an
bank.
order.
Tell them we need,
Which it's possible to do, but we
But
just
then you're
signed
paying
the
it-
order for the one installment of the payment to VM.
That's the second installment.
That's the
you signed.
second. Yeah. So, any other discussion? You ready for the vote? All right, motion is to go with the bond bank for financing of the 2.5 million for the public safety building.
We talking 20 years,
Oh,
probably.
which is it, Matt? 20 years?
Do we have to decide that on this application or do we decide that later?
Let's do it tonight.
Yeah,
because
let's do it
things-
tonight.
You know, things are, we got too many moving parts.
Well,
I think it's 10, 20, or 30, right?
Yeah, we had 3.
I think 10 would be better.
You're gonna pay less interest on a 10-year note.
what's it gonna do to the tax rate?
Because we will eventually be picking up the center payments too. So that's why I'm hesitating a little bit on doing 10 years. It would address your problem. What if we get extra money, then we won't be making payments, you know, so long.
Yeah, and the way our 1% money has been trending, we'll be a little bit better off there. And really, we might have to, as we start budgeting, we might have to start capturing more of that to our budgets anyway.
Well,
Slowly.
the original motion is to go with the bond bank, so we can split it into, we'll start with that. And then we'll talk 10, 20, or 30 years. Is that
Sure.
agreeable? All
Sure.
right. All in favor of going with the bond bank, please say aye.
Right.
Aye.
Under duress, but I'll say aye.
We have no duress here. Anyone opposed?
No,
Are you opposing?
no, I said aye.
Yeah, he
Oh,
said,
okay.
I'm for it.
we'll
Very
go
good.
along with it, yeah.
Next motion.
He'll tell us later he was against it.
No. No,
So
I'm not
that
gonna play that
carries and
game.
it's unanimous. Okay. Next motion, how many years?
So we're looking to bond for 2.5 million, right?
Correct.
So minimum payment's gonna be 250,000.
You guys have those schedules, probably not on your desk, but they were given to you.
Yeah, well,
I think
unless it's tattooed on my forehead, I can't remember where it was.
I get
But I
it.
mean, if you figure 10 equal payments, you're gonna pay at least 250,000 a year plus interest. Right? Theoretically, because
Kevin ran some numbers too, I think, didn't he?
he
Did you keep
ran
it
some
somewhere, Matt?
numbers for,
Looking that up.
the Center Altland Station, we borrowed $2 million for 20 years. And the interest was 750,000 over that 20-year period.
Yes, the schedules that I gave you had the interest on there.
let's see, this was rates as of 9/1/23.
Is that the schedules that he gave
Bond
us?
bank, it looks it.
What are we
Looks
doing?
Got it.
schedule-ish, don't you think?
Mhm.
Okay.
2.5 million.
So, and then,
So
Did
say
you get
that's
it too, Matt?
4% for 10 years.
Is this from a past meeting?
Right.
this is from,
So
I think,
When we first met with
when-
him.
yeah, when we met with the bond bank and we
Oh,
brought in,
no,
okay.
I don't have that.
So the
Can't do that. Never comes out.
There's an app on it.
first one is.
There's an app for that.
That's it, yeah.
see if I can find
Annual
this.
payments, if it was like 4% interest,
Yeah, 3.97 on one, 3.29 on the other, and 4.18.
so rough math, 4%, 2.5 million for 10 years is 303,000 annual payment.
303.
Does that look about right?
Principal, well, let's see.
Don't hold me to it, but
So,
there's an app for
We're
that.
gonna though.
There's an app for that if you're
So-
wondering.
so do that for
20.
20. It'll give us some numbers. They may
Yeah.
not be accurate, but at least give us comparison.
20 is
I'm just
181.
curious.
I have it.
181.
Right there.
181 for
Do you have
20
it?
years.
I have it on my computer. My phone
181, so,
Doesn't remember back that far.
181 versus 303.
right, so 10 years, you're gonna pay back 3 million, right?
So 20
Yeah,
over
do you want
20
me to-
years, you're gonna pay
Do you want to?
1.1
look at
million
that?
in
I
interest.
had it all.
Yeah.
It's in my office.
Yeah, that'll make it hurt, won't it?
Yeah.
Or if you
This
do
looks like the
10 years,
10
you're 537,000 in interest.
I'd rather-
Yeah, so the difference,
I don't know.
the interest is doubled.
Okay.
That's the difference. Roughly on Kurt's at the app, Mary, the
Yeah.
difference is about $500,000 in interest over the period of the loan.
Between 10 and 20 years?
Yeah,
Yeah, we,
20 years, you're like 1.1 million in interest paid. That's at 4%.
that's it for it.
So is there a motion in there?
I move we bond for the public safety building for 10 years.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded and thirded. Discussion.
So-
Carrie's got the
What is the annual payment then work out to be?
roughly.
181.
181 for 20 years and 303.
303 for,
10
yeah.
years.
303 is what is being proposed.
It's gonna cramp our tax rate, but
But you'll save a half a
Just
million
said.
dollars.
what's that?
What, can you tell me again what you just said? Is
So the annual payment for 10 years,
that what you're talking about?
yeah,
Okay.
is $303,000.
And that
Because
includes
one-
the interest.
Because one, and that takes in consideration that one a year is principal, one a year is interest. And it's defer, so there's a whole schedule.
There is a schedule,
Oh, I'm sure there is.
but I
We're
mean, we're
just-
just doing rough numbers.
We're doing rough
Right.
numbers here.
And I think the total cost for the year.
Yeah, because the first year you should pay mostly interest.
Yeah.
It's like 90% in 10 and then it works.
I
its way
found
down.
this, I found that sheet.
Did
So-
you? Good. Okay, Matt's got it too. Tell me which one is the 10-year one. It just went away.
Exceeded Mike's intellectual curiosity.
Happy Thanksgiving, Mike.
Okay, 10-year
So what I think,
on bank.
because they break it down here. Is it? So the interest here on this schedule for 10 years is, so the principal, we're borrowing 2.5. Over 10 years, we'll end up paying 514 in interest. 514,000
Okay,
It's pretty close to what
Pretty
you-
close.
on the 20 years. We would be paying $1.1 million in interest. And then on the 30
Good
years,
math.
we would be paying very close to 1.7 in
okay,
interest.
all right.
We're not going 30. It'll make the burden less, but
Where
you're
is the-
paying for
Carrie,
it.
where does this show up on this sheet?
Are you looking at these?
Yeah, it looks very much.
So the interest that we're accumulating each year is at the top there. Under debt service schedule,
Always
under the
look at that
interest, and it's
when you
different for
accumulated.
each of the terms.
There it is,
To
514.
use that, you know, when we do the tax rate.
That's right,
we
'cause the-
Figure on,
The
there's
interest
money there,
changes,
put
but
some of
the
that toward that
principal
payment.
payment is fixed every year.
Remains, yes.
Right,
And
okay,
it's also a deferred, you don't,
right,
it's
it's deferred
deferred.
for a year.
uh-huh.
Yeah. Did you catch all of that?
Oh,
It's actually an
First
11-year note.
That's
Yeah.
right.
the first payment.
That's
The
right.
first,
Yeah,
it's
there's the
first
first
payment.
ones. Yeah, so it's an
Okay.
11-year note,
And
which
the interest goes down. The principal stays the same each year. So the payments,
the payments are the same. The first year you're paying 90% interest and 10% principal, and then it just kind of.
no,
well, Not,
the interest changes.
right.
The principal does not. So that's a little bit different than a conventional.
Right.
mortgage.
But the numbers
Numbers
that came up with are.
But
are
you
right
guys are
there.
pretty close.
Pretty
Yeah,
close.
Yeah,
so-
okay, so the pending question is, do we bond for 10 years?
Yep.
Any further discussion?
Do you have any idea what this translates into for people's taxes?
No, we will
Um,
not, because that has so many different things.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's going to depend on when we start asking the
Right.
people for it, or are we?
And we,
I
yeah,
feel like there's more questions to be.
There's-
well,
yeah.
there is, but if we're deferred for a year, then it's a discussion, maybe not, well, it'll be for the, setting the tax rate next year.
We may have, we'll at least know when the first payments due.
Right.
That'll be a real start.
We have to budget, in this budget discussion, we need to include the initial,
No, not this
No.
budget.
Not this one.
Well, the
because
first
start
interest-
one- The start is 2025.
Which would be within the fiscal year,
Carrie,
but it's not part of the
It's
budget
November
discussion.
20, yeah, it's
because
November
Isn't it-
20.
But
It's
there's an
part of the
interest.
setting the tax rate discussion.
Do you have interest, you have two interest payment? No, I guess just one. The first interest payment's gonna be in the coming.
So
Fiscal
we
year.
start this process, we get approved. It'll be next year. We'll be into 24 before we're approved, right?
Yes.
get approved early in the 24s.
Yeah, the
Okay.
money becomes available.
Available end of February, beginning
February.
of March, exactly when we need
Right,
it.
right on time, and then we can draw on that for the year, and then the payments will start sometime in February of 25.
The payment looks like if they stick to this type of schedule, the principal payment, the first principal.
November 1st of 2025.
The first principal will be November 1st of
But there's
2025.
three
So that's even-
interest
I do
payments
see
before
the
that,
3 interest payments starting
Okay.
in May.
2024.
So
Yeah.
that's,
24?
okay,
Yeah, because that would be a year,
So
right?
in
No,
this current, that's this
You're
current
right, Matt.
fiscal
okay.
year, we
So
have an interest
that's what-
payment that we perhaps.
so
not
we have to
received.
pay on the interest within the first year. So we get the money, say, the
like
1st of
it.
March, the interest payments will start in May of 24.
Correct. And the
Yeah.
second one then is November.
That's correct.
So we have in this current fiscal year, we would need to pay
An interest payment.
interest payment, and then we need to budget in this current budget discussion. We have two, November 1st, 24 and May 1st of 25 that we need to plan for.
No, actually, it doesn't go in the budget discussion, it goes in the tax rate setting discussion.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so,
Okay.
okay, so 10%, any further
10
discussion?
years.
10 years.
10%. Do
You know,
you buy it or sell it at
Oh.
that?
All right, 10 years. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries 10 years and we're going with the bond. Next is bond counsel, because we do have to determine that. I was sent, Carrie sent me the list of bond counsel. I recognize one name on it, someone I have worked with. I will also say he's past president of the Bar Association for which I work.
You making a recommendation?
I would, but I'm giving you all of this background, so, you know,
You two, when it comes to the legal people,
Yeah.
I'll put some trust in you.
well, let's start with Matt then. Do you have anyone on that
You threw
list?
that hot potato right in your lap.
Well, I know I've not been involved in any bond.
Right.
work, so I can't speak to bond counsel. I recognize a lot of these, several of these firms. One of which, the most obvious for, as far as our area is concerned, is Stitzel, Page and Fletcher is now where the former city attorney Matt Bloomer is working,
Mhm.
so. For whatever that's worth, Matt's local.
Well, I like
And
local.
Stitzel, Page and Franklin, Fletcher, sorry, it's Bob Fletcher is the guy that I've worked with on the VBA board, and I kind of
Good.
like him, and he seems to,
I like working with local.
he's not local, he's
But-
Burlington,
right,
but
right.
there's an
They-
offshoot of
You know, they got
Stitzel.
somebody
Page.
here.
So are we agreeing to recommend?
Well, what would be common practice here? Do you need to get a couple of quotes, or? I mean, I haven't worked with their firm, so
Do-
I don't know how these rates are gonna
How do
compare.
they get paid?
I know that firm does primarily municipal law
Percentage of
generally,
the
so.
bond,
We should probably get
hourly?
rate sheets. The F rate sheets, and we compare hourly rates.
We're running out of time.
I'd go along with the recommendation from you and Matt. I'm okay with that. This is not like we have,
Bob Fletcher?
Dude, would there be a motion perhaps to delegate to us to figure it out and find somebody? Because it's possible the first person we call says no,
Yeah,
we're too
that's
busy.
I could do that too.
Well, lowest available rate.
Well, I mean, you don't
It
want to
may
do
not
that,
be
but
somebody that, because there's one or two brand new players in here that I don't know anything about, so. I want somebody who has done the work.
You guys on the finance committee?
Yes.
Okay, so I move that we authorize the finance committee to locate and secure bond counsel for the purpose of securing a bond for the public safety building.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to toss the hot potato to the finance committee. Discussion? All in favor of the motion to have finance look into bond council and
Secure that.
Secure that, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries.
'Cause this needs to be done yesterday,
Yep.
maybe at least last week.
Okay, so that takes care of public safety building options. All right. Carrie, anything else?
I think that's enough for tonight.
Okay, thank you very much.
Appreciate
Not
it.
gonna disagree.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Um,
Gary.
is
We'll try again next time.
Mike Delahanty isn't on, but Larry Delvenary is. So Larry, thank you for your patience.
Hey, be there.
I'm
Here he
here.
is.
I'm here. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
here.
All right.
What can we do for you?
The state is expecting a letter from the board saying that we can cover the cost. This happens with every transfer station that's out there in landfill. If the town decides to close our transfer station, do we have enough money to pay to get rid of our recyclables and our trash?
I think so.
Should be able to handle that.
The letter states we can utilize our reserve cash account, which has 1 million in it at the time. And frankly, if we close down our transfer station, that would be available. The question about whether we would have to get the voters' permission to do so, but should that ever occur, we'd have so many
my
other
numbers,
issues to
Mary?
the voters anyway.
To
Pardon?
close that down, to get rid of all our trash and stuff would be $7,380.
Okay, that's the not to exceed 9,000, right?
Yes,
Um,
that 9,000
So
is
that's-
2009.
what's your pleasure? We all get to
We
sign.
have to authorize to sign this.
No.
Or we all have
of
to
us get
sign. Oh, look at
Yeah, yeah.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made to approve the letter that informs the state that we have a reserve cash account we could use to pay for landfill closure costs, should that ever occur, and we hope it doesn't. Transfer station closure costs. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, going to circulate the letter.
Gonna be tight after we just signed up for that big bond.
That's where we get the money.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Larry. Appreciate you staying on top of those things. Okay. So anything else, or we did set Monday, December 11th for the budget meetings. So Bill will be in touch with you about making sure your numbers are in for us to use, and I'm sure they probably already are. Okay. Next.
Do we, the rest of us need to sign that or not?
Oh, did you guys, this side of the room want to sign?
Not yet.
Sorry.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
We got three. That's all we need.
Bill Sweet, Town Administrative Assistant to the Select Board.
Good evening.
Hi.
We've gone through everything I had.
Good, good.
Okay.
Anything special you need for the budget meeting? I will have budget sheets available very early next week if everybody wants to pick them up.
Okay.
Or you can come get them.
Here is my request, and I make this every time. Put the date on each budget sheet so we can throw away the old ones and keep the new ones. Okay.
Problem.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. We should, because there's so much paperwork, it would be better if we kind of scooted in rather than Bill sending them to us.
You guys have the highway one. That is.
Yeah.
That is done.
That's a done
So,
deal.
Yep. And I think I gave you guys.
Were you guys gonna let us vote on it, or you okay?
Oh, yeah, we
Okay.
just, that's what we're proposing.
Okay.
I don't-
All right, so we did the highway committee meeting, we did the fire committee meeting, we did the police committee meeting. we did A under action needed, which is the meeting with the Mendon Select Board. Cortina Inn.
The other budgets, Bill, are they everybody pretty much done, or?
Fire's pretty good. Rec is done. Police needs another meeting. Planning commission, they're all set. Larry, I think, is all set. Has there been a transportation
So
committee meeting?
the other
There's not. We
items
need to
on,
schedule one.
the other items in the general,
Yeah,
do we do those?
constable,
Listers.
the constables are all set.
Okay,
Listers.
The listers know the listers
Okay.
have to do that.
Carrie's input for her
Yep.
stuff.
We all the compensation ones are taken care of, and then that's all based upon, she sent out the formula, so I think I got all that in there.
Emergency management.
Yeah, Marty's aware,
Okay.
so I
Okay.
told him he has till middle of next week to tell me,
Okay.
so.
The generator contract, we've already done that, so that'll be reflected.
So
Have to add
I've requested the information on the generator we're putting at the new building, so I can get it to our contractor so they can give me an idea of what it'll be next year.
Okay.
I don't have the generator information yet, though.
We should make a note when we have that executive session with JP to remind him. Because he's our go-between, so he should be able to get that. for us.
He's the one who asked for it.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
yep.
Okay, so you have in front of you the 2023 settlement agreement with Cortina Inn. It has been signed by Dhruv Kumar, member manager and duly authorized agent for ADR Realty.
Now, can we verify that?
Well, we had this discussion with Kevin, and there is a representation in here that he is, as if you authorize me to sign,
You sign your name so I can read it.
okay.
I
You mean that? Okay.
I take,
Well, let me
I
just
take
say that
exception with
I
that.
was emailing back and forth with him. And when I asked where it was, he sent it to me, and the email known to me to be coming from him. So I believe it's his signature.
Okay,
All right.
I take a
Yeah,
little
just
more.
remember how bad Josh Terenzini's signature.
Well, I
is.
said,
Yeah.
I used to call him Dr. Terenzini. Well, I just, because if this were to come before a legal entity for some reason, I would not be able to discern that this gentleman signed this.
He's
Okay,
probably signed some other documents you'd have to compare.
we'd have to have because I'm telling you, I take more pride in my name than that.
I
Okay,
know.
but do you want a motion to approve this?
Sure,
All
please.
right, I'll move that we approve the contract as spelled out here.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay,
Motion's
so
made and seconded.
my question
just to-
is, because you're gonna ask questions,
Okay,
is, I've read through this, but
okay.
you and Matt did 99 and 9/10% of the legwork. Does this contract reflect what you asked for and what we approved as a board?
With
A couple of
uh,
changes,
a couple of changes.
right?
One change is that we had asked for, we thought we were in agreement, but it turns out they wanted it out with saying that the Cortina would provide emergency winter shelter for up to 10 people. They took that out. I mean, given all of the other things that are in here, at least I felt that wasn't a big deal. They took out some language in on page 3, section E at the top. We had said in section E, I think this is where we put it, that we would use this number if we were ever in an Act 250 proceeding, we would use this as the reasonable cost to the town, whatever the monthly payments were. And this would be offsetting the cost to the town, and we would use that number. They didn't like that language. We didn't feel it was harmful to us to take it out, so we took it out. They also changed, there was a reference to the hospitality nature of Cortina that it was just sort of like what they did. But they left in as a hotel and put in hospitality services. I think those are the things that stuck in my mind. Matt, do you remember any others that?
That was about it. I mean, they pretty much agreed to what we discussed and outlined in our initial meeting.
Just, for public consumption, this provides for catch-up payments.
Yep.
Beginning at the end of June of 2023. And within 30 days of our signature on this, they have to pay, what is it, 91,500. And then beginning November 1st, which of course has passed, they do need to make the monthly payments of 22,500. And then for the next, in 6-month increments, it increases for 5%. The monthly payment increases 5% each of the next, and then it flattens out. Our thought was, and I think it's fair to say, we said we are past the stage where we can cover the extra policing services needed with overtime with our existing officers, and we need to start we need to start getting new officers and adding it to the force. So that's should allow for us to do that. Any other questions? It also runs with the property. So
I think those were all the things
those are
thought we needed,
pretty
so.
important.
I would just editorialize because I look forward to reading all the comments on Facebook when
Oh, yeah.
Rutland Herald posts a story about this and all the people saying we should have shut them down and stuff. Well,
We don't.
people
have
need
that
to
authority.
understand that we don't have the power to wave the magic wand and shut
Right.
this down. This agreement includes a number of things that the Cortina ownership is agreeing to do that they have not in the past made an affirmative agreement to do. So I think if the board approves this, I think this is a good deal for the town. I think it's a good deal for the owners. And I think, not the least of which is a good deal for the folks that are living in this building because, I hopefully now, as I said before, it's trust but verify here. But I think this is an agreement that will hopefully lead to an improvement in conditions. We'll see. We made it clear that our preference in the long term is to have a hotel down there. We recognize that there's a housing problem right now and that kicking folks out of there isn't going to solve the problem. So until
Yeah, because this isn't something the town has any control of.
Not much.
Not much. I mean, we are trying to make, and I like this because to Matt's point is we have on your negotiations agreed or got them to agree to some services for these folks that they haven't been providing. And so we're doing as much as we can for those folks down there.
Okay, if you're ready for the vote, all in favor, oh, wait. You also have to authorize me to sign as chair. Is that included in your
It was.
motion?
Yep.
And
The
your
second.
second, okay. So all in favor of approving the settlement agreement with Cortina and having me sign on behalf of the board, please say aye.
Aye.
Sharon?
I said aye.
Okay, sorry, didn't hear you. And aye
You
for me.
usually
so-
don't.
Pardon?
I said you usually don't.
He's really
I'm
quiet.
sorry, Sharon, I do try. Okay, what is today's date? 21st?
21st.
Motion carries.
Let's see where this goes.
All right.
What do you need to happen to that contract now?
So it should be scanned and sent to, well, you can send it to me and I'll send it on to Drew.
Sure.
Make sure the police chief has it and
Sure.
make sure all of the members of the select board have it. And it's
Thank
now
you.
a public document,
I
so.
mean, this copy's good. I don't need another one, Bill.
Okay.
This one's good. Doesn't have Mary's signature, but I'm going to put in her line approve.
And he'll get one. Obviously, he'll get a scanned copy. We keep the original here.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so that takes care of B. The transfer station was D, that's taken care of. And what we have left is the public safety building change orders. And John Paul is on. Do we wish to go into executive session?
I think we should. I don't know.
There a
what the
motion?
rest of you
I
think.
would move that we go into executive session to discuss the proposed change orders. And I'd also like to add to that, discuss the status of the land sale.
Okay,
thing.
okay. And to hear advice of counsel, because that's included in first.
To
Well, read advice. of
read
counsel.
advice of counsel, yes.
Motion seconded by Joe. All in favor of going into executive session with JP joining us for the first, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Need
Oh, look at
We
that, they've
are
been a
out of
motion.
executive session at 9:35. Is there any motion?
So I move that we deputize Mr. DiNardo to communicate with architect Ed Clark regarding the proposed change orders.
Second.
And report back to the board, is that
And
remember?
report back
Yep.
as part of that. Yes.
Okay, yes, I thought I heard that. Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 No, it won't go. I'll
Okay.
abstain.
Move
So-
to adjourn.
A motion's been made to
Second.
adjourn, seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All right.
Thank you, folks.
All right.